always been keen on the sons of Tappet. We've done well with him. He's broken out quite well. He's a beautiful mover, potentially a really nice two-turn horse going forward. We're really kind of very fond of him.
We bought the Tappert filly out of the Blue Eyes in the Rain filly at the Keeneland sale. What we really liked about her was obviously her physique. We liked the way she moved, and we just fell in love with her from the start, really.
Tappert, standing at Gainesway.
Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer for Kentucky Derby Prep Recap presented by Gainesway. We're going to take a look back at the Fountain of Youth, and simplification has really moved to the head of the class of the 3-year-olds in South Florida, along with White Barrio. He breaks from post position 2, Mike, and this is a horse that was a little bit speed crazy early in his career. He missed the break in the Holy Bull, and maybe that was the best thing that ever happened to him, because now he seems very comfortable sitting in behind horses.
Yeah, that's the trip he got here. At least he was able to save some ground here on the first turn. Yet he's over there behind horses under a pretty big hold here around the first turn of this race. He's going to get held up a little bit, but all in all, this trip works out really well for him. They take him to the outside on the backstretch. He comes wide on the turn, and he, finishes his race off. Of course, there's an incident around that second turn, which sort of opens things up in this race, but this horse ran well again.
We see some horses stacked up on the far outside on the backstretch as Long Shots Marcamian goes forward with AP's Secret. You're going to see down inside the eventual runner-up finisher. That is the number 4, In Due Time. He's now in the 2-path in between horses, Mike, and he grinds on well for second. But I do like that simplification is unfazed in sitting 3 wide just in behind. The trip does ultimately work out.
Yeah, it's a very good trip for this horse. I mean, again, he saved ground early. He always traveled pretty well on some cover. Yeah, he's wide around the second turn, but he saved a lot of ground early in this race. He's coming up to contention right now. As you mentioned, In Due Time never really lost any ground in this race, Dan. He's going to come up between horses here. It's right where things get a little tight, and we're not going to see that in the replay. But now, at one point, there were 7 horses across the track in contention. Now there's only 3 or 4. And it's simplification who easily has the best finish. In Due Time will be along for second, but he's no threat.
Once again, simplification does not change leads in the stretch. That was the case 2 starts back in the Holy Bull. He didn't need to. He got it done under Jose Ortiz, and it just looks like this horse continues to move forward with each and every start. A 96 Beyer speed figure for simplification, Mike. This horse has really good tactical speed. He's now won 2 route races, stakes at Gulfstream this winter, and I don't know. I don't see any reason why this horse can't stretch out. You look at his pedigree. There's a lot of class and distance.
Yeah, I don't think that you worry about distance with this horse at this point. And listen, he's a pretty hard horse to knock at this point, Dan. Another nice win for him here. Another 90+ Beyer speed figure. That's 4 of those from his first 6 career starts. All good things. As you mentioned, he's shown the ability to rate lately, and that's another feather in his cap, I guess. I just feel like there were some other things going on in this race. So I just sort of feel like simplification, at least at this point, he's a horse. So I feel like if you liked him going into the Fountain of Youth here, you have no reason to change your mind now. If you were a little skeptical of him going into this race, you could still be a little skeptical of him. He ran, fine in this race, to be sure. I just feel like it's all about how you felt about him, maybe going in. I don't know that he did anything here to change anybody's mind. Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I think that he is a good horse, and I think that he is improving, but I don't think that all of a sudden this was the kind of performance that's going to propel him perhaps to the head of the national class, but certainly down in South Florida, he and White Barrio are king. Emmanuel was stepping up in class off a win at Tampa Bay. This was only his 3rd lifetime start. Your thoughts on his trip overall? Didn't really get out to the greatest start, was wide early.
Yeah, I mean, the trip obviously wasn't a good one. This was a horse who was, taking a big step up in class. His first 2 career starts were, visually impressive, Dan, and, just sort of races where he got control early and never really faced a serious challenge. In this race, it was totally different from him. He didn't break that great. He wound up, sort of back off the pace. He was very wide around the first turn. He was even wider up the backstretch. He was a good 4 or 5 wide around the second turn as well. I realized the winner came up to his outside around that final turn, but this horse had a way tougher trip than the winner did. And he just got a little tired at the end. All in all, I did not think this was actually a poor performance from Emmanuel.
Tell me I'm wrong, but I'm willing to give Rattle and Roll, the sixth place finisher, another chance. This was his first start since he won the Breeders' Futurity. He missed the Breeders' Cup with a little bit of an issue. Didn't break very well, tried to make an inside mid-race move, and maybe got a little bit tired in the stretch. I think for a first start back, it wasn't bad. I could see this horse showing up in a race like the Bluegrass and taking a big step forward.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way about it, Dan. You know, you're not going to, be thrilled necessarily with this performance if you liked him going into the race. But I'm kind of with you. If he just felt to me like a horse who probably needed it. He was last away from the gate. Brian Hernandez angled him right over to the rail immediately and last. And he did save a lot of ground, and he did, have room to move forward down there up the backstretch. It sort of felt to me like, around the second turn even, he still had some room down there. He wasn't really going forward at that point. And he did, for the most part, manage to avoid all the chaos with that spill. But he just sort of finished evenly. To me, when I watched it back, I just sort of felt like he probably really needed that race.
In due time, we saw tracking in behind the leaders. He followed the cover of Dean Delivers, and it was pretty live heading into the turn. He was the horse that drifted out and caused a little bit of that incident with High Oak and Galt. Thankfully, both of the Bill Mott trained horses that went down are fine right now. And then he was stopped a little bit in mid-stretch. He wasn't winning with a clean trip, but he did get to the outside, right, and he was pretty game up for second. This was a good performance for a horse that was getting tested for class.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I sort of feel the same way about him as I do about Simplification. If you liked him going into this race, you don't have any reason to jump off him now. And a little bit of traffic around that second turn. You're right. I thought it's so hard to tell what happened with that incident, Dan. It certainly could have been in due time, sort of causing a little bit of a chain reaction, bumping there, going for a hole. I don't know. I thought it was pretty hard to tell. This horse, I thought he finished an okay second in this race. There was never a real point where I thought he was going to win.
Your thoughts on the big long shot, Captain, almost 90-1. He was rallying at the very end of this race and got up for third. It was nice to see that kick. He had a very tough post position. He didn't break very well. And, that was how you had to ride him from that position.
Yeah, at that price and from that post, yeah, that's how you had to ride him. And that's what Castellano did. Obviously, the way things played out in this race, especially around that final turn, this was about as opportunistic a third as you're ever going to see. But this horse did what he had to do to pick up that position.
Let's take a look at the horse card for Simplification, the Fountain of Youth winner. We'll talk a lot more about his pedigree a little bit later this week on the DRF Breeding Report, trained by Antonio Sano, who, of course, had great success a few years ago with Gunnavera. He is by Not This Time out of a Candy Ride mare. And again, a lot of stamina in this pedigree. He's banked now over 400,000. He earned a 96 Buyer speed figure for this victory. Let's take a look at the prices for the Fountain of Youth. Simplification took a lot of late money. He paid $7 to win in due time for trainer Kelly Breen. Stepping up into the stakes ranks was second. Captain rallying from out of it, $16 to show. We'll see where Simplification heads next. It might be the Florida Derby and a rematch with the horse that bested him in the Holy Bull, White Abarrio.